Do you have predictions for the evolution of IT and cybersecurity roles? And you are a person in this field in the next 5 years. So who wants to start? Lady first?
I can start. It's an interesting topic happening in the group as well. So just to give you a background, we have always been doing cybersecurity in a traditional way. And now it's a time for transformation because business requires us to change the way we do things. When we look at the skill map, what we have, we see that a lot of engineers are there in the cybersecurity team. Process experts are there. Now, how do we shape them into something more to handle the security requirements and attacks happening using AI? That's my first initiative for this year because this is where I'm training my team to get hands-on into stopping the AI-driven malware attacks or cyber attacks, to also automate. I mean, I would say, yeah, AI is one topic which all of us talk, but a step before that, even before that, is automation. We still do a lot of things manually, but I believe that anything that can be done manually, which repeats itself, it can be automated. And this is my first focus, and we already started on it. Second step is AI enablement of people. That's also started.
Do you want to say something about how you came into the role of the CISO? You have a very interesting video I saw on LinkedIn, at least, yeah.
So I'm not a born CISO, I must say that. And I have been an architect throughout my career of last 30 years. I have been an engineer, I have been a software developer, enterprise architect. I worked with PwC as a threat portfolio head for PwC. And then I shifted into CISO role because this was not just CISO role, it was also about product security related to the automotive domain. So I was very interested to protect and safeguard the people on the road to make sure that ECUs are well protected and data is secure there. And I shifted into CISO role, and it was not easy because my mindset was very different. CISO roles are different. But it's last 6 years in the role. I think it's good because I feel empowered to drive things, drive the change.
So if a young person would like to become a CISO, could you give a tip?
Yes, certainly. I think we need to be, in any field, we need to be, first is passion that drives us. It's not money, it's a passion, and also it's our interest to go as much as deeper into the subject. If there is, I mean, all of you know probably that we just came out of an incident, and CCC also acknowledged that we reacted so quickly. How did that happen? Because we were on to the point and we could stop the incident. We were all in depth, hands-on, including me, hands-on, CISO, there on the ground, and within few hours, incident was stopped. And that is what is required, I think, for a CISO.
The passion, that's what I got. Passion is important. You're smiling. Is it right what you said? What is your aspect?
There's a lot of good takeaways. I would share. The only thing I would add, and maybe from my perspective, is really spending a lot of time. Now, I've been in a lot of different industries before I started to work with Texas Instruments. So starting in the regulated industry in telecom, and then into healthcare and finance and insurance. And what I learned in manufacturing when I first joined the company in the first 90 days, trying to lead a cybersecurity and privacy program, I recognized I came with this mindset. Everything has to be kind of more that I didn't really understand the risk profile of our company, how the industry operates. And I think I've actually talked to some of you over here. It's like, manufacturing is not your typically heavily regulated. They may not have regulated processes in place. So I came with this mindset, let me just go home 90 days, and I was getting quite a few pushback. And I didn't start to think, wait a second, maybe I need to go into the trenches and go work in the manufacturing. Go put on that, that white uniform, in the clean rooms, like when they go, and it's a whole different environment. So I spent more time understanding how the DNA or how our corporate business operates, and do that for 6 months so I can feel I can contribute better to the business. So in order to understand the risk profile, what is appropriate risk, how do you do appropriate risk management in a manufacturing setting, I think is critically important. And that will help build trust with your leaders, right? It's always about building trust and not necessarily where maybe our roles 10 years ago, and a lot of CISOs, for example, if you look at the role of the CISO 10 years ago and what it's now with this whole geopolitical landscape, think about in our industry, a lot of what we work is in automotive and industrial, but now we're seeing that the Europeans are now starting to invest a lot in defense. So we got a lot of defense manufacturers that now need chips. That was never in our radar. And now we're getting requirements from the defense sector, cybersecurity. And they have very specific requirements. The ISO 27001, the TSAX is not going to fit the bill. So we have to go back and look at our playbooks and say, wait, we probably have a lot of work to do. So it's understanding the environment, the landscape, and how you translate that in terms of your risk profile, and understand how you adapt to those customer requirements, so you can really work eye to eye with the business and also with your customers ultimately. So that's why I just want to add that dimension in terms of the geopolitical piece of it.
So as a security officer, you are not only thinking for your own manufacturing company, but also for your customers. Did I get this right? For the security of your customers?
Yeah, in order to supply to that business segment, because we already have, one more or less the hearts and minds of in car manufacturers, like Volkswagen is part of the family of Cariad, is one of them because they're a long-standing customer of ours. We understand the business. We understand that we need to work together with Daimler and BMWs of the world. That the defense sector is now the new kid on the block, and they now have more requirements. So how do you adapt to that new business? How do you make sure that you can address those cybersecurity concerns? So it's be able to pivot and understand, okay, where can we get that additional market share?
So Saritha, is it the same at your company, that you are responsible for the security of your own company and division, and also for the security of the people who drive with your software?
Absolutely. I'm responsible for the Cariad security, and we also develop software for all brands of Volkswagen, Audi, and Volkswagen, Skoda, Steyr, Porsche. The cars which use our software, it's also my responsibility to make sure that backend is secure, ECUs are secure, and the material or the components or the software what we receive from our partners like Bosch and Conti are also secure and meets the standards before we test it.
So manufacturing, software, insurance. Yeah. How do you see it?
Yeah, so great points on both the sides of my colleagues over here. I can just echo those thoughts. I myself am coming from an IT background, so I started my career in development, moved into infrastructure, and then ended up as a CISO today. That makes me also a hands-on CISO. That brings me to what we have to do. I didn't have to wear an lab coat and move to the floor, but I was already on the floor, right? That just made it easier for me. On the other hand, when we look at the point, around customer, I think at the end of the day, the customers are you, right? I am somebody who would use an insurance product. I'm somebody who would drive a car that has a chip from Texas Instrument, right? So my responsibility or my values, attitudes towards cybersecurity be in such a way that I'm the ultimate guy who's going to suffer if I don't do it correctly, right? If there's a hack at an insurance company, it's me who's going to be affected, right? It's my immediate community, my family, my friends are going to be affected. I think that is the attitude that we need when it comes to cybersecurity. And we can only do that by involving everybody, be it us, the stakeholders in the company, the stakeholders outside, which would be our partners, our vendors that we work with, but also our customers. So educating our customers around cyber hygiene will be one of my key priorities this year. Talking about the original question about what do we see in the coming years when we talk about cybersecurity, I believe a lot of AI-based things. On one end, AI is going to just make our life easier. We are going to train our experts in ensuring they catch along with AI when it comes to adversaries who are also going to be using AI. That's one side of the story. The other side of the story is things like shadow AI, right? We have been dealing with shadow IT. It stays there. It never disappears. And a couple of years from now, that's going to be the truth about shadow AI. And we can take an approach and say, no, we're not going to allow AI, or we're just going to say we're going to allow AI, but we're going to train our employees to be more responsible, especially with the new AI Act. I believe, Ali is expert over there. He educated everybody about it. It's a very critical thing, right? If you look at the Act puts the onus of responsibility of proving that you're innocent on yourself. And that's going to be a tough challenge for companies, both the resource-wise, financially, and the possible angle we look at it. We can argue that it's a bit short-sighted, but maybe it's the necessity. Maybe there's a big picture, there's not a big picture. But as professionals, I think having that responsibility built into your role is important.
And another tip to some people who are even younger than you all, because there are some young people here also in cybersecurity. Passion, we already heard. It's always right, I think.
Yeah, but I don't know, maybe I look young, but I'm not that young. my friends here in the audience, I see a lot of familiar faces, they know my real age. I think passion is something that is really important. I think that's the base of what you have to do. I come from India. That's my origin, right? I have lived in the US. Now I live in Europe. When we look at India, competition is the one that is driving people. If you don't do what you're supposed to do, you can't feed your family because there's a lot of talent, there's a lot of competitiveness, you lose on it. When you go to the US, you don't have security. It's like you do like the way I say, or else I'll find somebody else to do it. So being here in Europe, we have that stability of a balance, right? You're able to support yourself, at the same time do what you are passionate about, what you like doing. If you don't, you can pivot. And that is a blessing. And I think everybody who's young should appreciate that blessing and take the time to understand where they can deliver the best value that makes them happy and everybody around them happy and get into it.
So I'm a very curious person. You come from India. Is it right if I think that you also come from India and make your international career now?
Yeah. And I was driving cybersecurity in Japan for 4 years before this. And that's
you were at PwC India? Right?
No, yeah, in India I was at PwC. In Japan I was with Volvo Group. And this is where it was very different because Japan is all about safety. There is no concept of security there. So driving things with passion, everything is a roadblock on cybersecurity. So it's different.
Ali, may I also ask you, what is your background and your international
Well, I've lived on 3 continents, so...
3 continents?
Yes, but never worked in one of them was in Northern Africa, so Tunisia. But I've lived 20 years in the US and 20 years in Germany.
And now in EMEA, in Europe?
In Europe. I'm actually based here in Freising, so just outside Munich airport.
Will AI, quantum computing, and 6G redefine opportunities and threat in cybersecurity? I'm very curious if somebody has to say something about 6G.
Yes, it's a no-brainer. With every new technology that comes, whether it's small leap or it's a big difference in the previous version of the technology, it's going to bring in new vectors that can be used for attack, right? Adversaries are able to use that to make things difficult. One example for quantum would be when it comes to decryption. Right? Quantum is going to allow adversaries to have that power to decrypt at a faster rate in a shorter amount of time and resource. Then on the other end, when you look at 6G, it's the same thing, right? What is 6G going to bring to the industry? People spoke about 5G 5 years ago. there was a lot of marketing thing around 5G. People said 5G is going to change life. It's going to change the way things have been done. But that's not true. That's not happened. I think, and that's just going to be 5G repeat. But at the end of the day, there will be adoptions of 5G. You'll have a lot of devices connecting. And this is also needed for the AI part, because with AI, we talk about automation. We talk about modeling based on data, and the data has to come from somewhere. And every IoT device would then be 5G or 6G connected. So all of those connectivity just will bring more challenges, which will be more complex to handle. And hence, we will need to train our workforce to be able to be competent to deal with it.
So 6G will bring more challenges.
Yes,
because there are so many more devices like IoT devices.
I was also working on some of the concept related to the industrial networks. It's going to be a massive connectivity with the, you can call it as 5G adoption or 6G is a massive connectivity and hence larger attack surface. So the data and the way the network is designed, the industrial network, especially that level 0 to 2.5, it's going to be a big. It's going to come under big threat.
So what's your thought, Ali?
I'll comment on the AI. I think they've already addressed the quantum and the 6G aspects. I think we're in a state, and I think I mentioned that in my earlier pitch, is that if companies are not really truly enabling the potential of AI, that could be a very important competitive differentiator. And I think that the more we invest in our people, on training, and it's going to be a journey, the better we are at really capitalizing on the benefit of AI. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what we're starting right now in our manufacturing. So this is all public knowledge. In the what we call smart manufacturing and automation. It's a different group within the manufacturing, and that we're partnering with IT. So IT and our architects are working very closely with manufacturing to help optimize the manufacturing process to be more efficient. Because semiconductor demand is not really meeting the necessary supply. So you have an imbalance, right? So how do we make sure we're more efficient and more supplying more of that productivity? So that's going to be enabled this year. We're kicking that off, that effort, but that's a training, that's a cultural shift we have to go through. We have to reorganize our organization to be optimized, to be able to enable that capacity. But we as the partners supporting from the security as well as IT, supporting manufacturing, we're seeing this very, very strong partnership because we need to be really joined at the hip in order to really to make a major impact. We cannot work no longer in silos. That's what digital transformation is all about, is breaking silos. And our CIO at the town hall meeting we had a couple of weeks ago, she said, don't think of ourselves in our own unique departments. We are part of a whole. Think of us as a whole, not as individual teams. So get away from that thinking, and it's very true. How you do that in practice is a different story, but we need to start working that mindset that we're all helping and supporting each other, and helping out also with the new hires to help them feel that they're joining the company and they're also making an impact.